I call this meeting of the Perryton Independent School District to order. Let the record show that a quorum of board members is present, that this meeting has been duly called, and that notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meeting Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. If y'all would bow with me for a word of prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, just thank you for letting us gather here tonight, and just please be with our school as we're facing many challenges, and help us to make good decisions for our school. Just be with us as we go over everything for Perryton ISD, and let the decisions we make be in the best interest of Perryton ISD. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Okay. Before we get going on the agenda, anybody heard from Mr. Merkel? I have. He just sent me a text 6 minutes ago. Be a couple minutes late, so he'll be joining the meeting shortly. Okay. Okay. Do we have anybody signed up for open forum? Nobody signed up with open forum, and it looks like we have moved executive session a little further down the agenda, and that was intentional, I'm assuming? Yeah. Okay. All righty. First thing on the agenda, we have the superintendent's report. E3 efficient buildings program, sports lighting, and indoor air quality technical analysis. Mr. Morales?
All right, did y'all get to look through some of that information that's in your books? We had the salesman, the guy that worked with you all on the lighting. He was here the other day. He talked to us about different possibilities of things that could happen. One of the ones that caught my interest was the thermostats. If we do thermostats on our building, we can actually save money because it shuts them off. That's some things. Alan's not here right now because he can tell us a little bit more about that. I'm not nowhere pushing that we spend all this money. I just wanted to get this on your radar. The other one that needed to be on your radar was the lighting, football field lighting, and Alan and I talked about that one. On that one, our two middle lights that go up in the center of the football field, they're old lights and ballasts and all that stuff, and they're having a harder time replacing those and finding replacements for those. So he talked to us about the lighting. I think we can still make it, buy a few more years probably, but I think sooner or later we're going to have to look at on that.
That bid had no cost attached to it?
What's that?
That bid had no cost attached to it?
Yeah, there was a cost. About $300,000 is what the cost. Didn't have it in here. It's not in there? Okay. The cost is about $300,000.
Just on the football field?
Just lighting, and it's just that's all the lights to relight the whole stadium. But that's not saying the poles, because they still got to check the poles to see if they are sturdy and can hold that. But I didn't know if y'all had done any studies or they'd even talked to y'all about those things before, but it's pretty expensive. So.
And I'm assuming this is nothing like when we did the school project. That was zero effect to the cash flow because the payments were cheaper than what we were saving on our monthly bill. I'm assuming that this is not a project that can pay out like that.
No, it will save you a little bit because they are going to put LED lights back up in here and they're better lighting, but it will probably save you money in the long haul, but nothing short term.
Yeah.
But my interest was really in the thermostats because that might could save us money in the short term. And Alan was when Alan gets here and he does his report, he can give us a little bit more on the thermostats because he was saying, yeah, James, this might be a good deal.
Right. Yeah, I can see there being a savings on the air conditioning that could possibly pay off.
Yes, sir. This may be something to add more when Mr. Kemp gets here, but on page 10, it talks about Perryton High School. It says this campus and all campuses except junior high have many leaks present in roof.
Yeah.
We just spent how many $1 million to re-roof every building, and they're detecting, quote, many leaks?
Yeah,
That's more than a little bit concerning.
Yeah, we'll have to ask Alan because he's the one that's been up on those roofs. But we did have a roofing company in here the other day too, trying to sell us something. We
There
didn't.
shouldn't be a whole lot to sell us.
No, because our roofs are pretty new.
Yeah.
And that's what we told them. We said, all our roofs are pretty new, so. But I'm sort of like you. I don't know whether this was done
They're
prior to
saying
that.
we need to get some confirmation on that, whether they're just full garbage or.
Yeah, trying to make money.
Yeah, another statement in there, they said 15% of the chillers at, junior high were 50, over 15 years, and I thought we replaced every dang one of those.
Yeah, I thought that too. I was going to say, that's a new building, so those can't be that old.
I'm going, where are they?
So
Yeah.
you're skeptical of the report.
Of
Yes.
what they're saying.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. I understand that.
That puts I would have thought with the report,
Yeah.
look at these other things, yeah.
Page 12, I think is the page that shows you.
Press forward on the other districts, because those are new units down there, but.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, I believe a large portion of our new roof that was literally millions of dollars is a Duralast roof.
Right.
And I
The
know
warranty,
I warrant,
with a warranty.
with a warranty, exactly. I know we installed a Duralast roof at United 6 or 7 years ago, and we've had a lot of problems. And the warranty has been pretty good on it. They keep showing up to fix things, but we've had a lot of problems, and it's very disappointing to put on a major roofing project and to still have problems.
Well, I know that Alan, when he made that comment, he made the same comment you did. He's not real fond of
Yeah,
Duralast
I'm not a fan.
roofs. But anyway, we did tell that roofing company, we thought we were okay. But if you look at this HVACs on page 12, the ones that are red on the top, they're saying are 15 years or older. And that really surprised me. Like they're saying the junior high, they're showing 33. And I'm going, how can that be right?
And there's no red.
Hmm.
There's no red. Page 13 red either.
Oh, 12? Maybe mine's different. Maybe I got a different page.
16, you know, 16.
Okay,
Yeah.
we got different books. Yeah.
Page 13.
Okay, I'm looking at the one that's got the graph.
No,
There you go.
That was you, Ed.
On a,
that's current on page 16.
16, okay, different book then.
well, you know what? On mine, I'm looking at 16 in our book and 12 on theirs. You've got one number at the bottom and one number on the side. So
Yeah.
it looks like they scanned in.
Okay, I see what they're saying.
So,
Looks like they kind of rushed through the whole thing and scanned in a whole bunch of this stuff. It doesn't look like it was well prepared. I think we blew it off.
Yeah, well, like I say, all this is just information for you, so that you can be thinking future-wise. And the lighting is probably the one of the bigger ones that we need to get on our radar. The other book that they gave us was on indoor air quality, and they have this new system of hooking up to your current HVAC units and cleaning the air. Right now, I'm not interested in that really, but y'all might be.
okay.
Nope. There he is.
Mr. Merkel?
There's extra over there on that page.
Well, you may have to get some more because I think they've all picked up. Do you have any more?
You got some right there.
That's over.
Oh, you got some more. Because I already handed out some. Thank you, Mr. Reed.
Go ahead and let the record show that Mr. Merkel has arrived. Okay, Mr. Clark, before we move on to the next item on the agenda, I saw you playing with your phone back there. Are you getting any indication that our microphones are working out as we had hoped? So, home,
A little too good, as a matter of fact. We're having some distortion issues we're working on, but it's better than not at all.
okay.
Turn it off. So we need to push them further away?
Wouldn't hurt.
Okay. We can do that.
far away as we can.
Do you think that possibly we have maybe too many microphones out and they're
Now,
distorting each other?
it's actually adjustments in my computer,
Okay,
and I'm working on it.
all right. Well, still,
Mine says channel 4 and his says channel 5. And this says channel 3. They all got little different channels.
Everyone should have a different channel. But we've got different frequencies as well.
well, regardless of whether we have the kinks worked out, I appreciate you looking into this issue we had. I know I've been excited about how many people are tuning in to Facebook Live to watch our school board meetings, and I think it's great that the public is able to be involved, and hopefully we can give them a better quality sound. So thank you for looking into that. Okay.
The report I'm getting now is that our sound issues are fixed. So.
All right. Sounds good. Okay.
The COVID.
Next, we're moving on to the COVID-19 mask requirement update.
Okay. Guys, you know, we've been dealing with these masks for a long time now. And I've had a lot of different issues on them. We, and Darren will probably tell you in his report, we actually polled or surveyed our parents. We've surveyed our teachers. I don't know if y'all see those numbers and what those came back on the masks. I even called different districts around to find out what other districts were doing. I found several small districts that weren't even wearing masks and never wore a mask at all and still don't have cases of it. I do have a local small district around here with superintendent saying, we haven't been wearing masks, but we're going to start because I just realized one case could wipe out my whole teaching staff. And the magic bullet is if you're wearing masks, and both parties are wearing masks, only the person who has it has to go home. So if just one is, one isn't, then that person still supposedly is contagious or infected.
Wipe out would mean send their teachers home, not wipe out.
Well, let me just tell you, an example today, we had a case today, I've sent it to y'all, and it ended up being 15 students, 3 possible teachers out, 4 or 5 possible teachers, because they're the parents of those kids that are going to school, so now somebody's got to stay home with them. So, I mean, we just saw how it can explode, and going, wow, that's a lot of people, a lot of kids out of school. So really, the information I'm getting from a lot of superintendents, you know, the masks are the silver bullet that keeps kids in school and keeps kids' seats, you know, keep our seats full. So I think all my principals, we visited with them this morning. We had an admin meeting, and they're all going, let's wear masks. Let's stay on the safe side of this, not the opposite side of that.
Well, you know, and at this point, the mandate we haven't even filed for exemption as a county, so we're still under the mandate, and in light of the things we've been through on multiple campuses and with our athletic program, I think just proves that at this time we need to continue wearing the masks. Question I just thought of. We have many, due to close contact protocols, many students who aren't sick have had to be quarantined for 14 days. Are those students able to automatically switch over to distance learning and still be counted in attendance, or are we having to count those students absent, and are they falling behind?
No, it should be an automatic deal where the principals, I think, already had it pretty much systematically set where when the kids sent home, they went to virtual learning and they did it for 14 days and then they come back and go back to face-to-face.
In the instance that a kid was sent home for virtual learning and did not have the hardware to be able to do that, is that being provided?
Yes.
That was quick. I was going to say, some schools, I wasn't sure it right. That's why I was a little scared of saying that. But I know at the other buildings it probably are.
Part of the choices we're making here are avoidance of liability. I mean, I don't even, as you know, I don't agree with some of the policies, but we're doing this because we're trying to avoid liability. If we run this off we've got this all from Fred, that the attorney, that what exactly we need to comply with. And
well, I mean, if you look at it, the first one, we're complying with the governor's order this right now. Yeah. And TEA, he has it right in his hands there. TEA's guidelines of what they want us to do, and then also the CDC guidelines of what they want us to do. So
CDCs are printed in pencil, I think.
they change really quick. They have erasers, and they change on us really quick.
well, nonetheless, you've got school districts, as you just pointed out, that are not following those.
They didn't follow those guidelines, and I'm really wondering how they're doing that, but they're not.
They haven't had an incident yet.
They hadn't had an incident, and their counties are 0 active cases. in those counties.
As much as I totally disagree with the way this is put together and with all of the rules and regs that we've got to follow on here, these are the rules. These are the rules that are placed in front of us, even 8.5 hours away from where the rules were written. And the only way that we're gonna keep ourselves with kids in school, the biggest number of kids in school, is wear these stupid masks.
Well, what I'm saying, Wes, is that we're doing a lot of things for liability of what we just right up. We're taking care of that.
Yeah, I'm not even touching on the liability part. I'm just touching on keeping the greatest number of kids in a classroom is going to be with kids wearing masks.
Well, but part of what we're doing here is because of the liabilities. You
Sure,
take
we're covering
everybody
ourselves
around
on
them,
that.
right? So what my question was actually, have we talked to the lawyer about, can we get something from the state that would alleviate some of the liabilities for the school system? I mean, the reason we're all doing this is we're all got a case of we're fearful of lawyers, right? What's real? What's fearful of lawyers?
Well, I think the science behind it is one of the reasons we're probably doing it. But when the governor came out and basically said, because I called Fred on that when he made that announcement, and Fred said, you got to follow the governor's rules. Point blank. That's what he just told me. He said, it's just like the seatbelt law. It's like anything else. Now, when our county goes the other way, that's why I wanted us to have this meeting and talk about this, because I'm probably going to get more pushback if our county says no more masks. Masks aren't required in Tree County. I'm probably getting more, but my thought still is the same. I can keep more kids in school, and I don't want to go mask on. Oh, now we go back over mask on, because I think once you go mask off, in my opinion, it's going to be hard to get the kids to put them back on again. So I want to be on the safe side of that.
And to your point, Mr. BA, I understand the liability issue, and I would hate to be one of those districts that says we're not going to follow the governor's order. We're not going to follow the TEA guidelines. I think if you had a catastrophic case of COVID in your school, I think you would be opening yourself up to a ton of liability. But beyond the liability, the main reason I think we need to do it right now is this is what keeps more students in the classroom. Yes, sir.
Along those same lines, in light of what we saw today in Wright Elementary, where masks are not required, and it had such a greater impact on the number of kids that we've had to send home.
Yes.
Can we consider extending the mask through the entire school district? Most school districts have done that. We have not, and we had a little pushback just when we extended it to include fourth grade. But in light of what's happened today, we can keep more kids in school if kids are wearing masks.
Right.
I had that question asked by a parent today. If my kid's wearing a mask, but the kid with COVID's not, and I've done what I can, but my kid still has to go home and be quarantined, how is that right?
Whether the school takes action on requiring masks at Wright Elementary or not, and the kindergarten, whether the school takes actions or not, I would hope that this would serve as an example for more voluntary wearing of masks, because it's the best way to keep your kid in school. We had the incident at the high school where I believe we quarantined 13 students, but it was isolated to the football team. Now, that same case, had nobody have been wearing masks in school, and we would have had to take the close contact trace back into the classroom, we could have had to quarantine 60 kids instead of having to quarantine 13. But because it was isolated to the football field, we had a situation that none of us want to deal with. We had to forfeit a couple of games and possibly a third, and we had to send home kids from school, but still it was isolated to the football field. Had we not have been wearing masks in school, it would have been much worse.
Yeah, Darren's going to give you numbers here in a little bit on how many actual cases we have, how many kids we've sent home, the total number of kind of what we've experienced here lately.
You know, if the county files for an exemption again, possibly there is a choice to be considered. And I'm not sure how I feel about that right now, but right now we're still under a mandate, under a law that says we're required to wear them. So I don't think there's anything really to consider this meeting unless it was,
An executive order, right? There's a difference.
Yeah. The other thing too, guys, I mean, if we are probably gonna consider taking masks off, we need to probably give a deadline to our parents and people saying, okay, we're gonna make a decision at this time, like an end of a 9 week, and saying, okay, that way they know when to expect it and they're not worried about it. It's gonna just happen today or tomorrow, or whatever, and then we reevaluate it the next 9 weeks. You know what I'm saying? So that we're not being so wishy-washy and they know what to
When
expect.
is our 9 weeks up?
We got 2 more weeks. Is that right, guys? October. So I think we could at least wait that long
I agree.
until we make it. Then we can say,
We'll
okay,
evaluate at the end of 9 weeks and
right.
make a decision.
Mhm. And then now they'll know when to expect that.
Okay.
all right. Any other questions or comments concerning the COVID-19 mask requirement update? All right, on to the CFO's report, Mr. Call.
First is our disbursements report. It's on page 53, I guess it starts. There's a section of checks, pending checks for September. First, we've got two periods open now, and then 55 is the district checks for the month of September at that day, and then computer checks, pages 1 through 5 of those. There, and on page 61 is pending checks for August, page 1 of those, and then page 1 through 9 of computer checks for the month of August. And then let's see. And then on page 69 is the district checks for the month of August, pages 1 through 28 of those.
Mr. Rouse, do we have a local purchasing policy or a directive of anything that says we try to buy Perryton first?
We haven't, but I think we're going to try and put it in. I think Dr. Little did talk to me a little bit about that before, but I don't know if it was in policy.
In our business, we're trying to push everything locally because the economy is in the situation it is. We probably help the school districts on the same page.
Yeah, and I like the idea of Perryton first, and then, like I say, we look at it, and then if it's really a big discrepancy, then you have to go the other way.
Got a supplemental handout here for you.
Late addition to the cutoff date on Friday.
Thanks, sir. We'll talk about the handout when we get to the point of financial statements. The cash position and book balance reports, our total cash position as of August 31st on that schedule on page 98, $669,302. General operating funds, 1199. Reconcile balance of 307, that's 732, and CDs of 7,515,000. And schedule of those is on the next page, on page 100. Interest in sinking funds, balances of 1470 in the cash account and CDs of 167,224. And of course, this is after our semi-annual service payment we made in August. CD schedule They're on page 102 there for that. And like we talked about, we had to sort of prepay our QSCB subsidy, and they're due back from them. So that when it hadn't hit yet, I haven't seen it. So when that money comes back, it'll go back into that fund there too. Cafeteria fund balance of 8,160. No CDs. Special education funds of 282,227. No CDs. Activity funds of 61,807 and CDs of 310,992.60. Schedule of those is attached. Capital projects funds, the CD of 81,117. Ranger roundup balance of 9,359. Our financial statements on page 112 there. The revenues through August, which is just about all our revenues. There could be a few things coming in. We've got 23,246,202. Expenditures of 20,875,578 there. And see these numbers here. Let's talk about the fund balance projection on that handout. This is sort of an early fund balance projection. These numbers that we're seeing on the financial statement is a revenue realized through on that financial statement is 23,246,000, and then I've got some estimated adjustments there. We're sort of a little early. I know we have some utilities to pay and some other things, so we're estimating additional bills to pay of about 100,000 in our general fund. Or estimated transfer to the food service fund to clear their deficit up, see 93,315. Estimated transfer to daycare 110. We got some accrued salaries that we're fixing to pay that will back into last year. Some inventory adjustments potentially there at 25. Another little bit of revenue there from the forfeitures. And then the expenditure total comes in, so you can see that on that number there. 20,875,000. So that's if you net all that together, we've got a net increase in our fund balance of $2,032,000, and which is probably good news for everybody. And we sort of knew this was coming, I think, in our previous discussions. The biggest reasons are, and I spelled those out here at the bottom there. Remember we talked about the T2 discount that the comptroller did on the property value study, which resulted in increased foundation revenues. We based our budget last year on the values provided by the appraisal district, and that when the comptroller came in and discounted with the T2 number back in February of this year, that resulted when TEA made that adjustment, we had more foundation revenues because our certified property values were lower. And that's the same issue that we decided, remember when we had our meeting in August, early August, what amount of discount to apply to the current year amounts, and we ended up making that calculation there. So that I think that basically added about $1 million of that to our fund balance, basically that difference there.
Doug, is that in stone? I mean, the state can't come back and pull any of this back?
We've already received our near final adjustment, and it's already booked into the financials.
Thank you.
Part of it, about $270,000, based on our decline in ADA, is an adjustment into the next year. We've already made that adjustment. So out of the money that we received in August, part of that money is deferred into the next year as a liability, basically on our books. So, it's as close as we're going to get for right now. There'll be a final settle up after the audit report's filed and that kind of stuff. But I think that's a done deal there.
Okay.
The second item is, remember last year we had the Energy E3 project, and we paid for those expenses, $607,000. We reported that as expenditure, and we accrued that loan proceeds into last year, and the auditors did not like that. So, we finally considered, and they backed that out. So this year we recorded the loan proceeds as a other resource, which ends up like it's an income item. So that was about 600 and some thousand dollars. So that adds up to our fund balance too. And we spent it in the year before last year, but then we get to count the loans as revenue. Of course, we are paying the loan back, and that's an expenditure, this year, and sort of the way governmental accounting works there. And then you can see on the functions, various functions that we did not spend what we appropriated. Flip to the financial statement where it compares to by function there. This one starts on page 115. See, one of the things is function 11, we're sort of, and of course this could change a little bit with some expenses, but that's a huge number, 373 number there is unspent amounts there. And the biggest reason for that is part of it is, or probably about $100,000 is a lack of paying substitute teachers, maybe about 80,000 of that. And then the net change in accruals between the prior year and this year, when our salaries go down, which we've made changes to that this year, the effect, the comparison to the accruals that we recorded at the end of August compared to the prior year, which was budgeted, that made a difference there too. So that's a good thing there. Function 12, we're underspent there about 28,000, and some of them are closer. Function 23, about 67,000. The others are pretty close. Function 34 is our transportation. We saved some money in transportation last year when we did not March through May. We did not have that. So the accrual for August's expenditures is already reflected in there too. So it's in there. So this isn't going to change too much. Function 36 is a little bit under 176. Maintenance is underspent by 204,000. So, and then our capital items there, we had an amount there that we had budgeted. We'll see that number that we did not spend. We had a pretty good amount of capital projects that we didn't spend for this year. Just never got going. So, and of course that total is on page 113 there. See, we had an amount there, undesignated zero, about $259,000 there. So, all total, a combination of those factors results in good news for our fund balance, which we really need it going into next year with the uncertainties coming into after the legislature comes back to session in I guess January, February next year when they try to deal with their deficit and that kind of stuff. So I think this could be considered our best news of the night, probably.
Absolutely.
I would say so.
So, and that puts our fund balance at about a little under $7 million.
Right.
And then
Does that put us comfortable, Doug, where we need to be? Because I know we got knocked on our audit because we didn't have what we should have.
yeah, I think we're getting there. I know it's we need to have enough reserves to make it through from September to January when we get the bulk of our tax money in. And I think this will be able to do that now. You can see in the CD schedule there back on the other page for general fund, we got that big payment in August 25th, and I bought 2 CDs, $1.5 million each, which will cover the payroll for November and December. So without that, we would have to sort of been scrambling for November and December's cash flow for payroll, which I think we're in a lot better shape now. Moving on, financial statements there for food service on page 118. Of course, we've got a combined food service fund there. We got Fund 240 and 242 there, the summer feeding, and we still have an adjustment to move between move some salary expense from 242 to 240, but That showed a net change of 50,177.
I better take this, Doug. I was hoping it wasn't my fault. I thought I had it turned all the way down. That's what I'm listening.
But looking back from those numbers to the food service numbers, you can see that the combined revenue there of $1,080,724, and then expenditures of $1,030,000. To that, we have additional bills paid, and those are paid now. I mean, they were paid like today. I think I got the number. This is the bills for August that we have to accrue back to last year. That's $42,000, and then there will be an estimated salary accrual in there too. So, but to zero their fund balance out, that requires that transfer in and the transfer out in the general fund. So that's that's what we've been projecting all along there.
Doug, on this pre-food for until the money runs out with the feds, I mean, how is that gonna play into this next month and the month after?
Well, it's free to the students, I guess, but they're funded. There's a separate program from the National School Lunch Program. It's a separate number, SFF or something, supplemental food something, and they fund that, and the projected reimbursement rate's enough to pay for all the food. So I think we're going to come out okay. They're guaranteeing it because they didn't know how many schools were going to do it, but it's good through the end of this year or until the funding stops. And they're supposed to. We said in a webinar on that, and they're supposed to let us know way in advance if the funding was going to dry up from it. So.
Does it affect our food costs at Ranger Roundup, or is it just the school lunch program?
It's just a school lunch program. It's a separate federal program. From the NSLP is the main one that we use, and this is a supplemental deal. The claims are a little bit different, and once Shelley's been working a lot on this and getting going, but I think they're in pretty good. One thing they did make a change the other day. They relented and letting, I think, the snack bars are going to be able to come back. At least what I hear. So that's going to help, because that's a good moneymaker for the food service.
I believe statewide restaurants went from 50% to 75% capacity, so they're starting to ease the restrictions on restaurants as well.
Yeah. But part of this loss that you can see there is the problem with the reimbursement rates, and then all of the reimbursement rate for the COVID stuff, and part of this, we had to pay salaries for the full year for people when they weren't there, and that's all booked into there too. So it's not good, but it is what it is, I guess.
Is there a lag time on the reimbursement? I mean, is it on us for a month or two until
we've accrued our August reimbursement from the NSLP program, and that's reflected. I think that was about $70,000, and that's reflected in these financials already. And it should be hidden within a few days, I think. But it'll be a month delay. You submit the claim right after the end of the month, and then it takes a while to get it in. But they'll settle up each month. So, moving on to our debt service fund. This is going to be our final numbers there, and this is exactly about what we were projecting on page 123. We've accrued our tax revenues collections for the month of August that we received in September. They're on there. So this is like we projected going into all the financial stuff that we did for our budget. We're adding up $118,272 to our fund balance in our debt service fund, which will put that right at $300,000. And let's see, what do we have left to do? The Ranger Field, Turf Field is the same. Our Ranger Roundup, revenues, and there could be some final adjustments there. We've got revenues of 197,000 and expenditures of 416,000. And as part of the settle up, the half of the transfer, half of the deficit after we get everything cleaned up, we'll have to do the transfer. And of course, we've transferred money's already there. It's just moving it out of a D2 account into a revenue account, and then half will be absorbed by the hospital district. So we're looking at the difference there between the expenditures of 416,000 compared to the revenues of 197,000. And the detail of those expenditures there, you can see those there on page 134. Y'all have any questions on the financials at all? Last but not least is our enrollment report. This is as of September. Our current enrollment, I guess, is 2,127, which is up from 2,105 in August. But compared to the prior year, it was 2,213. So
Okay.
I have, thank you.
All righty. Any other questions for Mr. Call? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Call. Okay. We will start going through through the directors and campus reports. And if anyone has anything to add, let us know. We'll start with Ranger Roundup. Anything to add to the Ranger Roundup report? Okay, I didn't know if anyone else had anything for it. Okay, on to the maintenance report, Mr. Kemp.
Nothing to add, sir.
Nothing to add. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Kemp?
Other than what we talked about earlier, on page 10 of I heard your voice.
There you are.
The E3 report, when we went around, it talks about all roofs except the junior high showing lots and lots of damage everywhere. Are they full of beans, or do we have some issues with some of that?
Say that again?
On the
efficiency report.
efficiency report on page 10, talking about the high school, it says this campus and all campuses except junior high has many leaks present in roof.
And this is E3.
Yeah, on their report that we've got in our packet here.
I don't even know why they were looking at leaks. E3, the LED company that did our LED lighting.
Oh, this report, they were looking at chillers.
Yes, same company.
Yeah.
This is that meeting we had the other day.
Thermostat.
So my question is, are they full of beans, or do we have some problems with our multi-million-dollar roofs that we put on?
I don't know where they're coming from. We haven't even talked about roofs. We talked about.
Principals, are we experiencing any roof leaks?
Now, that's what jumped out so weird, and why I had a question on it.
I mean, the meeting we had the other day was all about air conditioning and maybe doing something to look at letting them price air conditioning for the high schools.
The only roof we didn't replace is at Williams. Right, the eldest roof. And then with that portable across from the junior high, we had a quote that we're working on getting that replaced because that roof really needs, but that's small stuff compared to.
Right.
Mr. Kemp, I believe there was something in that report too that stated there were multiple air conditioners over 15 years old, including the junior high. And some of us in here were thinking that we replaced all air conditioners at the junior high.
Okay.
You replaced everything on the top floor that was a package unit serving the top floor stayed.
Okay.
The only things that were replaced was second floor and down when they put the split systems and stuff in. They did add some new packaging units in the new construction areas,
Yes, sir.
but you still have, all three wings on the top floor are all served mostly by the old American Standard packaging that's like the.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Kemp.
Mr. Kemp, can you help us out with the lighting at the football field? The poles and the placement of bulbs on those?
Yeah, the last time we had the electrician come over, the conversation was, the main thing is the two big poles in the middle that have all the square halogen lights in them, with like 40 of them up in each, 50 each pole. And those fixtures are getting very hard to, we got 2 or 3 out now that we can't find a replacement. Everything's kind of moving towards the LED stuff, and they're phasing all this stuff out. You still get ballast and bulbs for the metal halides in the corners, but those old halogens up in the middle, the big holes in the middle, can't hardly find them. So there's some up there now that are out because they can't find anything to replace them that fits back in that area.
Where do we sit with the coach's transformer blowing? Is there any way to build any redundancy into that system? Is there any way to build any redundancy in that system, that transformer that blew that shut us down the first game?
Probably a 30-year-old transformer.
Right, but I mean, they've replaced that, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Is there any way of building redundancy into it so it doesn't happen again, or are we just gonna trust one?
That's all on Excel's side of things. That's not on.
Seems like we could request some redundancy in the system so it doesn't happen again. I mean,
I can't answer that.
Buy a generator.
Sorry, they wait on the lights and you use a generator.
Right, that would be
Their solution.
That would be their solution.
So
Yeah, I know.
they replaced the transformer.
Yes. Yeah, they actually replaced it that night.
Yeah.
They got done about 11:30, 12 o'clock that night.
I know in 10 years, United here in Perryton, we've had our transformer go out twice. So just when it goes out, it's out, and you're down until they get a new one put up.
Yeah, it just seemed like, I mean, I don't know if that's worth the conversation or not. It would seem like they could put some redundancy in the system so it wouldn't all be hanging on one 30-year-old transformer.
I can't answer that.
Right.
Mr. Kemp, can you help us out with the thermostats and what's happening with our thermostats?
Yeah, I think most of y'all are aware about the Johnson control system that we've been in place, I guess, for 20-something years now. We paid that off. Would have been done 6-7 years ago as far as the big deal.
Yeah,
But we still have the service contract with them that they charge us $11,000 a year. And we get really very little for that. It's even become a struggle just getting thermostats from them to get replaced when one goes out, because they're out of Lubbock, which most of them kind of places are 3 or 4 hours away from us. In the beginning, it was set up to where they would furnish us 4 or 5 heat pump stats or 4 or 5 conventional stats. One went out, we could swap them and change them ourselves, because we can't wait 4 hours for somebody to get here, or 2 days, because a lot of times we're stretched thin. You put a work order in, and maybe 3 days for the get it. The thermostats we have, the basis stats, they've done away with. Johnson's not really using them anymore. They've gone to the web-based stats. These stats run about $500 and something. They're super expensive. But that's what our system's still on, so under their contract, they're supposed to replace those for us. But I'm having to wait anywhere from 2 to 3 months to get a couple in at a time. And in the meantime of that, when we lose a unit, we're getting away from heat pumps and going back to conventional units, because heat pumps just aren't paid that great in this part of the world anyway. They're super expensive to keep up. Buy no parts on them. The indoor blower motors cost about $900 to replace one of the carrier units we have for 2 years. And anyway, I've been looking at other systems. E3 has one. I talked to a guy. Well, he's out of Dallas, but we're looking more towards a self-contained system to get rid of the middleman, get rid of Johnson Control and Contact and who we have at junior high, to where you basically buy their stuff, buy their software. I think our IT guys understand, make all that fit, and then we run our own system where we don't have to pay them their service fees every year and depend on them getting us stats. We can run our own stats. I think in the long run, I think it would save us some money. It sure saved a lot of frustrations and having to try to be able to get thermostats and stuff. But now the one at junior high Contact, we do not have a service agreement with them. It's just what's there is there. I think it's 2.5 years after that was put in, the main modem controller that does all their stuff that they log into and all that went out and cost us $1,400 or $1,500 for them to come back and get that and rebuild it and bring it back. And they told me at that time it was being phased out. I said, it's just 2 years old. You guys just put it in. He said, it's already phased out. So if that goes out again, you're gonna have to replace that. Just to me, it makes more sense to start looking for something that we aren't spending, to me, unnecessary money on for somebody else to be looking over it when we do it ourselves.
Are we committed to the contract with them?
Johnson, we are.
For how long?
I think there's another year and a half. But, it kind of gives us some time to be looking and be ready. That's the kind of reason I want to approach it now. Because when that time comes up, if we have something in place that we think will work for us and everybody's in agreement on, then I think it's time to cut loose. Because they won't do anything. They wanted to sign a 10-year contract, and we wouldn't do it last time. 5 years and then let it go.
Seems
We
like
had talked them into starting to change some of our stats out at high school to the web-based stat. They kind of balked on it, and I said, man, you guys are charging us $11,000, and all we're getting is y'all come up here 2 or 3 times a year and go through the system and do your updates, and that's about it. I said, we do all the thermostat changes, we do all the work. And they didn't like it, but they've done it to 5 years, and they've changed out, I think I have 2 more times. They're changing out about 10 stats a year at the high school. And they're more of they're a web-based stat instead of this N2 stat. So they work more off the Wi-Fi stuff. They're a better deal, but they're still expensive.
I just thought we'd give you a heads up so we can be looking ahead before that contract comes up.
Okay.
It's like anytime we can cut the middleman out of something and save $11,000 a year.
Yeah, plus your technology.
But
Technology should be
it is
improved.
going to be a cost up front, just like it is anything that you put in and do. It's going to cost somebody up front to get changed over and do it, but I think in the long run, in the scheme of things, it's going to save us some money.
Get sure we put some numbers together so we can keep it on top of our head.
And we're just talking about thermostats, not units on top of the buildings.
Well, they were pricing, I think we talked to them.
Yeah, I was looking at their price while I'm going.
Plus, looking at what they call their EV stats.
Okay.
I did a year or 2 back give a price from the guy in Dallas. It's kind of the same type system, but I don't think we looked at it too close.
I have no idea if it would be practical in a school setting, but I know in a store setting, all of our stores have gone to a system where there are no physical thermostats anywhere in our store. Of course, they've got to have a thermostat of some kind to measure the temperature, but everything is done through the computer system, and it's as simple as making one phone call and we can have it adjusted in a matter of minutes. But we don't have multiple thermostats throughout the building like we did several years ago.
Right, not, most of this stuff is, just trunk lines, daisy chained to each staff. So, I mean, an important thing I think you may run into there, and it's just my opinion, those teachers like being able to do it. We give them that three,
And principal.
we give them that 3 degrees.
Do they have to be hooked to anything?
I mean, we're not gonna go there. We give them-
Keep the same thermostat.
Is classroom specific or zone specific in these?
Each classroom, each classroom has its own air conditioner, except I think she has 2 classrooms that split a unit. So she has 4 classrooms that split 2 units. My school has the same thing. I think they have 4 classrooms. So 2 rooms, 1 unit does 2 rooms in 2 different places. So there's a fight over the thermostat there. Right? It's just, I think we might have a problem if we've done away with all the thermostats. Might be chaos.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Kent? Okay. Mr. Clark, do you have anything to add to your report?
Well, I do. I was gonna give you, updated numbers just on where we stand as far as the students that are out for the COVID-19, either the positives or those that are out for exposures. As of about 4 o'clock this afternoon, it's already changed, but as of 4 o'clock this afternoon, we had 6 students out for having tested positive. That's throughout the district. And 49 students out for exposure. Not all of those are exposure that occurred that's school related. A lot of those are exposure to other family members, but that's the total. So a total is 55 students that are out. We have 1 positive staff member and 5 staff members that are out for exposure. Again, a lot of those are family related. And then we have an additional 5 staff members that are out. Mr. Morales mentioned those that are out now because they have to go home and take care of students that we sent home as a result of today's exposure. So that's where we stand on all of that as far as overall total.
So what are we doing on the teachers that are having to step out?
They are probably gonna check with us on this COVID Act where they got 80 hours of time that they gave you. Really, it's 2 weeks, but it's only a one-time thing. So we're looking to see how that can be applied.
Yeah, I was talking about classrooms. What are we doing for the teachers?
Yeah, we're gonna have to get subs for those teachers.
You do without teachers.
Or you put kids together.
Yeah,
You got choice.
I understand we're pretty much out of subs, is that correct, guys?
And you can't necessarily put the kids together if you got 2 classes of 20. There's a classroom with 22 desks in it.
Well, that defeats our social distancing purposes, contact tracing, makes it easier.
And then exposes us to sending more kids home on the next situation. So this is something that is real. I know a lot of my report discussed the possibilities of what should we do with our mask rules, should the county get an exemption again. I don't see that happening. I think the official numbers, they have officially been below 20 for 30 days, but with what's obviously in the pipeline that just hasn't reached the state's numbers, it wouldn't make sense for the county to file for an exemption right now. So I think we continue on that exemption. Again, the question is, do we expand that to the lower grades to avoid situations like what happened today?
Suffolk County had already said they were going to extend it further. They were going to look at it another week or so. There was a time frame attached to it there.
I haven't received that communication. But that would make sense just to see what happens. All they gotta do is look at our webpage and they know that there's some more cases out there.
Yeah, I would be surprised to see the county file for an exemption while we're heading in the wrong direction right now. So if we were under for 30 days, which we are, and everything was status quo in the single digits like it was, but everything for the past week or a week and a half has indicated that we're heading in the wrong direction as far as number of cases.
The other thing, it's in the report, but the survey results that we did from the survey we conducted as to how, our stakeholders felt about the possibility of us continuing if the exemption went in. And, parents, was 60-40, basically, which for something this divisive, that's a pretty strong lean, I think. The staff was split right down the middle, and we only had roughly 50% of the staff participate. And then the junior high and high school students were slightly in favor of removing masks. That's probably not a surprise, and it was a very low sample size. 148 students out of 7 grades. So 6 grades. My math's not great, but so just for what it's worth. But that's where we stand on all of that at this point. That's pretty much the only thing I have above and beyond what's in my report.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Clark?
I do have a couple. When we first started to be able to see that wisdom wasn't going to be the be-all, end-all for us back at the beginning of August, we talked about starting off with Google Classroom.
Yes.
And the Google Classroom material would be able to, if I remember right, the quote was, drop into the wisdom system. Now it appears that that's an issue.
It is a slight issue. Mr. Throgmorton and I have discussed this. It's a complicated process on the Google side of things to get the file ready for wisdom to import. And along the way, there's a few places where our security measures, our network security is putting up some holdups. And Tech is working on that. Once that's done, we're going to get enough people familiar with how to work this process that then we can kind of chain it out to the rest of the teachers, because as much as they've been working on Google Classroom, that is essential that they be able to pick up what they've worked up till now, bring it into wisdom, and then start working from wisdom.
And then you talk about wisdom by the second 9 weeks, beginning, end, middle. I mean, I'm thinking about our investment that we've made in this program we haven't been able to use yet. At what point in time are we able to use the program?
I can't answer that until we get a little further with the tech guys, to be honest. But I mean, absolutely worst case scenario, we're up and running with this for the second semester, and that would be if a lot of things went wrong between now and then. I'm thinking more. Everything would have to go absolutely perfect to be there by the beginning of the second 9 weeks.
Have the wisdom people been approached, or have they offered, I say that totally sarcastically, a reduction in their annual fee because of our lack of being able to utilize the product?
They've not been approached. They have not offered such. They have offered some additional training because of the poor quality of some of their training and the unusability of that training at the time. So we will get some additional training from them down the road once we get things up.
So I'd certainly ask about an adjustment in an annual fee that it appears, worst case scenario, half of the time frame where we would be utilizing the product, we're not going to be able to utilize the product.
Is wisdom blaming the lack of being able to use the thing on training, or are there other problems?
No. It's some of it was a Google issue for anybody in the system.
That they didn't know about going in.
Well, it was something that Google made some changes right at the end of the summer, messed up everybody. And
Including Google Books? I mean, is everything messed up, or is it just the compatibility?
the compatibility with the API that they use to collect the Google Classroom stuff. It's a Google Classroom specific thing, but it affected everybody who was trying to import Google Classroom.
I'd ask for a discount.
And I'm gonna go ahead and say this with all this other issues, we've been having issues. I don't know if y'all gotten any phone calls with Gradebook, with our sender. It has been wild, because that was nothing we did. It was Region 16, I can't blame Region 16, but the people who put that Gradebook and attendance in there, our teachers have just been frustrated, to no end. But it has nothing to do with wisdom. I'm just letting you know that, because we haven't even started wisdom. But I don't want to start wisdom until we get that issue solved. You know what I'm saying? Let's don't add on to the issue we already have. So Rodney can tell you more about it because he's standing right in the door.
About the ascender part?
Yeah, just your technology report. I think we're ready for that. But yeah, the ascender part too.
Darren, did you see my text?
I did not.
Okay. It says that part, the part you were waiting on for me is done.
Okay.
That would have been helpful like 20 minutes ago. Well, I'll just wait to talk about this because that's in part of my
part of your deal.
report.
Anybody have any further questions for Mr. Clark? Okay. Mr. Throgmorton?
Okay, regarding the cinder part, I think there was lots of things seem to be wrong, and it's like a state of Texas product. Region 20 is the one that does all that. Region 16 has no control, but they just support it. There's lots of goofy things in it, and what I've come to realize is that because there's a lot of problems with it, if anything doesn't seem right, you assume that it's just the gradebook messed up. But like sometimes it's like a lot of times I'm able to troubleshoot things that aren't software related. Occasionally there's user errors, run into those. But because of the frustration with the gradebook, it's accentuated when there's a user error because they think, oh, that's not me. That's just the software glitch here. That which just adds to their frustration.
So is there a problem? I mean, is there?
It's kind of strange because in a normal school year, like when I can't tell it's easy now, but when we had our own, the same product, well, the unupdated to a center, the old TX gradebook, excuse me, we would put on about 3, maybe 4 gradebook updates a year when it was here. I'm not, they don't tell me about it now because we're not putting them on, but there'd be 3 or 4 per year, like 12 months. And I'm going to say that there's been 6 to 8 thus far this year. And like multiple ones in a week, sometimes just trying to fix all the things wrong with it.
And you'll say it'll probably be another 2 weeks before they get the bugs lined out of it.
One of the things today that I realized was fixed, like when you pull up, when a teacher pulls up their assignment grades, if you scroll to the right to see the last assignments you put in, you had to scroll over there and the whole page would move, including the students' names, and so you lose track of where John is, where Sally is.
Yeah.
But it used to be that if you scrolled to the right, the name stayed in place, and as of the last update that they did, maybe Thursday or Friday, that part is functional again. And that'd been a really big annoyance because you got to keep track of what order. You could change the order from ascending assignments to descending assignments and flip it and make the most recent one be to the far left next to the kids. But it always defaulted back to the other way that was backwards and easy to get lost.
So right now, the help, you're their help and Kelly's their help if they're having any grade issues. Grade book issues.
The other day, with one of the recent updates, and a teacher emailed me and said, hey, when I pull up my kids in attendance, I see all my 16 kids, but I only see 7 of them when I pull up the grade card. And I logged in as this person, and I was like, I saw exactly what they saw. And normally on the right, if there's too many kids to fit on the page, there's a little director bar that you grab that and scroll. And that looked to be off of the page. But if you scroll your mouse wheel, it would still move. All the kids were there, but just not visible. And the little tractor thing to move it up and down was not visible. But that seems to be fixed with the latest one too.
Mr. Throgmorton, the reason we elected to invest the $24,000 a year in the Wisdom Learning Management System was an effort to have a user-friendly system for teachers, students, parents, students who were doing the distance learning, everything that it was billed to be. Now, if I remember right, we started out the year with a hacking incident that was beyond anybody's control. Is that correct? And then we didn't get the proper training from Wisdom, and it was difficult to give the proper training. Now at this point, we're experiencing the problems downloading the Google Classroom stuff into the Wisdom Learning Management System. If we had a representative from Wisdom Learning Management System here right now, would they tell us that their system's up and running fine and it's on our end, the problems we're having at this point?
I assume so. My understanding is all that remains now is for the teachers to go through the steps to move everything over. But it's like they each build an app, basically using the Google API to build their own app to move all that stuff. But it's it's not like I can't go in there and move everybody's stuff. It's each individual person has to follow the steps, and there's several.
I'm not suggesting that we abandon the work the teachers have already done on Google Classroom, but if we were to abandon the work done on Google Classroom and do everything in the learning management system, would we be having problems right now, in your opinion?
I can't speak to that.
Okay.
But
and then
there would be a huge morale hit if you made everybody abandon everything.
I'm not suggesting that. I'm just trying to wrap my hands around what's wrong with the system that we invested a ton of money in. So,
and I can tell you this: Google did dramatically change the way it works, the way Google Classroom works. Because they added a bunch of new features and they're pretty good about completely changing lots of stuff. But I know that they added a lot of new features, like how to track student engagement. That last year that wasn't a feature that they had, and this now that it's a feature that they offer where you can track student usage, count clicks basically.
And then also due to the obvious increased usage of technology, now I know at least I believe at the junior high we were having a problem with having enough bandwidth. Have we got that problem straightened out? I know we were supposed to be purchasing some more bandwidth. Did we purchase it? And
it's not.
Do we have enough bandwidth now?
I think and we're about to increase our bandwidth a little bit. It seems to be a complex problem, and it does seem to be strangely far worse at the junior high than the high school, which would have fewer kids, obviously. I think we're getting a handle on that problem. And I think it's not just one, like, I think it's multiple things.
Mr. Garcia, you had a question?
The high school early adopter committee met on Monday. These are a group of tech savvy people that have invested in being guinea pigs to trial some of the systems and issues that we have with Wisdom. There's a published document, it's a 14-page document that requires every individual teacher to basically be a computer programmer to get all the work from Google Classroom over to Wisdom platform. A lot of the concerns we had as a district with respect to Google Classroom in the spring, the updates that happened in August, Google listened to teachers around the nation and they approved their free product to be able to provide the services that educators needed. So I question at what point do we ask for a refund for a product that's still broken, that teachers are against using because it's not user friendly, and we were promised a service and a product that is not working or doing anything. And every time you reach out to Wisdom, there's an excuse. Well, we got hacked. Well, we had bad training. Well, it's an issue on Google's side. I believe that's a poor product, and I believe we should demand a refund.
Anyone else have any further questions?
Demand a
Clark, Mr.
refund
Clark.
and, I'm sorry, Monty.
Oh, go ahead.
Demand a refund and not use the product going forward.
Well, as of right now, we purchased something that nobody's using in the district, but we're still teaching kids. So we must be doing something right without Wisdom.
Be clear, thank you.
Well,
I'm sorry. I got a question. In your report, you said we purchased 170 Microsoft Surface Pros,
Yes,
and our kids are on
Chromebooks.
Chromebooks. Is that going to be some kind of compatible?
I don't think it would.
Okay, all right.
These Surface Pros basically are gonna help with the distance learning. I mean, it's harder for those teachers to do it with a Chromebook because they can't see everything. Well, these Surface Pros give them a bigger picture so they can see what they're doing. It gets better.
And if people have to work from home,
Right.
it very much facilitate that.
Okay. Right.
It's a much better product for our virtual learners. For
Okay,
our
all right.
teachers the cameras are fantastic.
They're good
The
machines.
speakers are fantastic. It's just,
Okay.
they're much easier.
If you watch any NFL game, all the teams, and I think probably Microsoft gave them those.
Refused, but yes, it is.
Yeah.
They're good machines.
Bad
I
example.
can tell you, we got it all for the teachers, and the administrators are jealous, so.
Okay.
It's a good.
All right.
My
Okay.
service is my baby, you can't have it.
one thing that I would like to make clear, everybody involved in selecting the learning management system, from administrators to committee members to board members, everybody involved with selecting that, decided to make that investment to better educate our kids and to make something that was more user-friendly and uniform across the district. It was all done with the best of intentions, and now I think we are to the point where we need to decide, do we go forward with this? You know, is this a worthwhile project, or do we cut our losses and learn from it? I'm not suggesting that it's time to give up on it, but because if we can get it working and it's everything that it was built to be in the beginning, the investment of $24,000 a year is well worth it. But where we're at right now,
Yeah, we're almost into 9 weeks already going.
yes, sir. And
But Darren and I can call him. Darren has his number. We can tell him what we're thinking and what our issues are.
And I'm not trying to point the finger at anyone involved. The reason I asked the question of if we talk to Wisdom Learning Management System, would they point the finger at us and say it's on our end? I just want, because if they're saying, no, we've had problems and we have got it resolved and now we can move forward, that would make me feel better. If they're saying, well, our system's working fine, it's on y'all's end.
Well, let me do
I
some.
don't know that we will ever get where we need to be.
Well, let me do some research, because I know there are 4 other schools in the Panhandle that are using Wisdom. and see what their results are with them. Right. Whether or not it's working for them or not working for them, or whether they're having the same issues we're having. You know, that type of deal.
Is the support level we're getting from Wisdom, is it adequate to keep up with everything? I mean, if you were my customer and you were having these kind of problems, I'd be all over it, I would think. Is this what we're seeing from Wisdom?
They are not necessarily aware of our most recent struggles. They have been on our end. And so now that we are finally ready to move forward with the transfer from Google Classroom, we're ready now to implement the switch that will then make Wisdom usable for our teachers. But at the same time, if Google Classroom will function better now than it did when we were.
During the sales pitch, there was a word called seamless. I was thrown in the mix.
And I hope you understand, Mr. Clark and Mr. Throgmorton, they're doing a phenomenal job advocating.
I understand that. I'm not throwing darts here.
Oh, yeah, it was all done,
You know,
very good.
This is just me speak on behalf of the teachers at the junior high and some of the conversations I have with teachers at the high school. If you've got, not only is Google Classroom free, but the state of Texas has purchased Schoology for every district across the state for the next 2 years, which, again, it's my personal opinion at this point that it's a better program. Mr. Sproul has used it in other districts as well. I mean, I just think we're killing our technology. Mr. Clark is fighting to advocate to get this up and running. We're working hard on our end for a product that is still not working. I don't see the sense.
I will tell you this, had I known in June or July that it was a 14-page, highly technical document that was necessary to get Google Classroom into Wisdom, I would not have been advocating for it. And you know how passionate I was about it.
Oh, absolutely.
But had I seen
I was
this-
100% behind it myself.
Had I seen this,
Was the 14-page document not available or from their side?
No, it
That was
wasn't.
the word seamless, remember?
no,
Seamless.
no, it wasn't, because that was pre-API change from Google.
Yeah, I think we're gonna
It
have to-
all changed with that.
Again, I think one of the things we were trying to say was that from the board's perspective is it's more critical to us what's going on in the classroom and what's happening with the kids. So we've got to make a call here on what's going to be usable.
And I would like to say,
I'm
I'm
not a
not
Google
100,
fan, so
I'm not 100% ready to give up on the system. Sounded like a beautiful system. That's why we purchased it. But can it deliver?
Yeah.
If it can't, then we need to figure something out.
Yep.
Okay.
Well,
All right.
I'll
Any other school systems having the same issue as far as going back to the company and trying to get?
Well, I think some of the other school systems were, even the ones that went with Schoology, I think they were having issues too with Google and everything else. So
I would assume anybody integrating with Google
right now
would
it's
have a
having
hard
issues.
time just because of the major change
Yeah.
that they may have strategically done right before school.
Imagine.
But like, as it is right now, the teachers have been using Google for some months now and are comfortable with it at least.
How user friendly is it for parents who have multiple kids?
I don't know, but I don't think that like seeing assignments for multiple kids that are due, that's not a big deal in like I'm not sure yet if Google has addressed that, but when we were meeting one time, Eric North pulled out his phone and made a thing that would do that. He just, so that part is not a tough part.
Okay.
That'd be an easy hurdle to get over.
All right. Thank you.
Congratulations on the 28th.
Well, thank you.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
That's the first one, so they say there's nothing better than grandkids.
That's
true.
Heck, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's the other one. Send home's good.
Right. Okay.
Any other questions for Mr. Throgmorton? Okay. Mr. Haberther, do you have anything to add to your report?
I don't think so. I think I covered it all.
Possible game?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, let's sleep over here.
Game October 9th. That was our original open date, but now since we have back-to-back open dates, we need a game on that day, and we picked up Alpine, and we're gonna play them at sundown on the 9th at 6 o'clock.
Where's Sundown, Kurt?
Hey,
Where's Sundown?
It's just west of Lebanon.
Level land.
By level land. It's by level land.
They're gonna
So
put
I
a grass
know-
field there, huh?
I don't know. Sundown has turf.
Oh,
yeah,
they're
Yeah,
rich.
they have pumpkin units on campus.
Yeah, there you go.
Just pretty little town.
Alpine is way down there.
What age are they?
3A.
I know obviously we canceled Canadian and Bushland. Has a final decision been made on Pampa or playing Pampa?
One day practice.
One practice.
How are the kids' attitudes? They hanging in there?
Great. Yeah, the kids that are in practice have been as crisp as they've ever been. I've been in contact with the guys that are quarantined. And they've since having to get on them to check into class and grading coming up on Friday. That scares me to death.
Yeah.
And have we officially moved homecoming yet?
Homecoming, we're gonna put on Seminole. The last home game.
The last home game. Okay.
Wow.
October 30th.
So
Thank you for the hat. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
senior night and homecoming
Senior
both
night and
the same
homecoming,
night.
we'll knock out everything
So you said
that. people that
October
organize the
30th?
game hate on the same game. But we ordered these in early July, and they were on an 8 or 9 week back order. Hour short and a day late, so had we had these on in practice, we wouldn't be in that situation we're in. So they were actually sitting up by the office.
That's what I was
Turn
told.
level on for 2 weeks also. They had the wrong name on them. Like we had a problem. When we got sent back.
I don't suppose you have any room in the equipment closet to store a few homecoming mums for about 6
Yeah,
Just wondering.
Yeah, the fire shop's probably
I got a display up that's supposed to be coming down Friday, so.
Are they real mums or fake mums?
Oh, they're fake mums.
Oh,
They'll
there you
last.
go. Yeah, I
They'll
got
last.
lots of room for that.
Yep. All right. Okay. Well, we appreciate your efforts. Sorry for everything you've been through, and appreciate you looking out for kids first.
Part of the game.
Part of the game. All
We're
right.
still gonna try to win a district championship when we start.
All right. Okay. Okay. On to PHS. Anything to add to the report? I know Mr. Sproul's not here.
Just a second, I'm getting.
You're calling him.
Hey, do you want to say anything on your report?
Thanks for being honest. We were that.
He's sick, guys. He can't even remember what he wrote. He said. All right, so I'm gonna tell him no. Okay, whatever you wrote was good. All right, good deal. Thanks. Yeah, I must have woke him up.
Certainly hope he gets to feeling better. Okay, Miss Wilson, for Lita Pena Martin.
We have one more graduate that finished on Friday, so that's the only other thing.
Good deal.
Okay. Mr. Garcia, anything to add for junior high?
Yes, sir. I did include this in my report. I want to thank Mr. Clark. He's been phenomenal with respect to COVID reporting and support. Anytime I've had a question or concern, if he didn't have an answer, he was scrambling to get me one. Kelly Vernon, man, she's a rock star. She's on top of it, doing everything she can as well as taking care of all the attendance issues we have. Mr. Kent and his team, I mean, they're keeping all the stations, hand sanitation stations filled and everything clean and taken care of. We've got a giant support, even from technology. We've had a lot of issues where we've had to reach out. We're seeing people work well past the regular working hours to just make sure we're taking care of students and teachers and staff. So, big thank you for everything that they're doing, because we would not be able to be in the classroom right now if it wasn't for all these people coming together. So, we're very blessed by central office and all these other maintenance and transportation and everything that's coming together to just take care of our people. So, big thank you.
Dimitri, are you finding, you made one comment here that says as for remote learning, many of the students are opting to return to campus.
So
are you all finding that? I mean,
that's definitely, so every Friday, Mr. Whitefine and I, we go out, we do home visits. So we'll say, Mr. Felix, he's a good looking man, but he's not getting his work done. And we're convincing parents to move past some of their fears and concerns to come back face to face. Now, the problem with that is a day like today, we're losing teachers that are parents, and we're losing siblings. So the frustration for our teachers, keeping your thoughts and prayers, the fluidity of moving, from the classroom to online and online to the classroom. We have the procedures in place for communicating, but it's a lot of work, and it doesn't happen overnight. It happens with a team, but it's stressful. It's definitely stressful.
Also, on your visits, you said the biggest issue is they're not getting online. Is that more from just lack of self-discipline, or is it because they don't have proper internet?
So we have maybe one that it's an internet issue. We have to keep in mind that if that family chose for that child to stay home and they have other siblings, most of the time the parents are not home, they're working. So there's 2 or 3 or 4 siblings at home. The oldest one is really watching out for the little ones. So in fact, actually getting any work done, it's non-existent. Other things that happen is there's a lot of parents that are simply not aware of the technology, how it's being used, how we're instructing. So, Mr. Felix again says he's going to get his work done, and they don't say, hey, let me see what that looks like. There's an assumption that it's done, and that's the entirety of the conversation. So we reach out every single week on Fridays, we make phone calls. If it happens twice in a row, then we're showing up on some porches, and we have the same conversation essentially every Friday with the same parents. And so we're doing everything we can to say it's not working for them. Love to have them on campus. What do you say?
all right. Well, I think it's a good thing that you're emphasizing coming back to the classroom, okay, as we can.
And we're tracking the data of how students are performing in classroom versus online. I can tell you all, online is not working.
Yeah.
We have teachers that are busting their butts to do the best job they can, but there's no comparison. So let's say we got 50 kids online at the junior high, 6 of them are doing well.
Yeah. Yeah, I think nobody thought that. I mean, that would replace that classroom experience with most. We did this in a hurry and a rush, and we didn't just a half for everything. So if we could have done that, it would change everything.
All right, any other questions for Mr. Garcia? Thank you, Mr. Garcia. Mr. Cates?
It's all good at Williams.
Yeah, can you work on the 90%? I'm disappointed.
We're doing the best we can. We're doing the best we can.
All right.
Everything's in there, but we only have, I think, 4 virtual kids left.
Wow.
Yes.
And we've been knocking on doors on Fridays.
I do want to make a comment on here on his remarks. The benchmark scores were better than expected.
Yes.
Which we didn't have that loss, we thought.
No. It was shocking.
Good deal.
All right. Mrs. Speaks, do you have anything to add to your report?
Not really.
All right. Any questions? Thank you, Mr. Speaks. Mr. Felix, do you have anything to add to your report? No, sir. Nothing to add. All righty. Thank you, Mr. Felix. Okay, I believe that concludes the the campus reports. And now curriculum and instruction report. Dr. Rock.
I did put a packet that she gave to me, hand out to each of you with all her updates.
So it's a packet, it was,
Yeah.
yeah, it's not in your board book.
No, 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 she didn't have it on packets in her letter.
Hey, are you wanting to talk? We're looking at your report now, so I can put you on speaker. All right. All right, can you hear us? Can you hear me, Dr. Rock?
Yes, let me know when they're ready.
I think they're ready. They're looking at it.
Okay, good evening to everyone, and I just want to start by apologizing for this meeting, but I'm sure Mr. Brown was going to fill you in on my situation, and I know that you just received the
Dr. Rock, are you there?
Okay, yes. Yes, I can hear you.
We all have the report in front of us, that was provided right before the meeting, the 6-page report, so we have it in front of us.
Okay, I'm sorry, I had Facebook Live on also. So I apologize for just giving the report to you today, but would you like for me to go into detail with it? We probably haven't had the opportunity to read through it.
We haven't had the opportunity to read through it.
Okay. Alright, so let me just give you a quick update. It has been a busy time since our last meeting. I've had the opportunity to visit Region 16 for training to learn the evaluation process for principals. And right after that, we have given 2 orientations to administrators. They just recently updated the principal evaluation process, July 2020. Of course, it was the summer. The principals have been given that orientation so that they know the new system that the state of Texas has provided to us. In addition to this training, I have also participated in Zoom trainings for the junior high school improvement plan. We're in the process of developing the targeted improvement plan, as Mr. Garcia stated, and then we're also looking at starting a targeted improvement plan for Wright Elementary, given that they are below C in 2019. So it's not mandatory, but we're trying to be proactive to ensure success at Wright Elementary. Meetings with Region 16 representatives and our instructional coaches have also occurred to discuss the supports needed for all campuses. The first update is the collaboration of the district improvement plan, and I hope that you find it to be very thorough. And I just want to give a big shout out to Shannon Jackson, the president of the DEIC team, and Kelly Vernon for their contributions in helping with the district improvement plan. At any point, if you want to stop me to ask questions, just let me know. I'm going to move on to curriculum and instruction. And in this section, I have asked each team member on the curriculum and instruction team to give an update. And the first one is Angela Campbell, who is the bilingual and ESL coordinator for the district. And we have set up a classroom at Perryton Junior High in order to test remote learners or students receiving special services, in order to honor the family safety concerns about being on campus. So we have a system set up, we have a calendar set up, and it's available to everyone in the district, all the campuses. Perryton ISD is also offering multiple opportunities for teachers to prepare for their ESL certification test. This is on our district improvement plan. It is a state mandate, and we have been out of compliance for a while. So we are supporting teachers in ensuring that they are given the opportunity to go through training sessions to prepare for these tests. And we are looking at the district reimbursing the teachers for this exam, for the certification, once they pass the test and provide that certificate to the district. In addition to her report, we have also been able to test students that did not get to test last spring on the TELPUS, which is a proficiency test for students that are English learners. and they have been reclassified if they met the criteria to exit the program. And last, identification testing for new students who check language on the home language survey have been tested. They have been identified and recommended to the Language Proficiency Assessment Committee, which we are really bad about using acronyms. We call them the LPAC, and that is following the TEA guidelines. For Ms. Erickson, she is a math and science instruction coach for pre-K-8. She has attended a numeracy workshop at Region 16 with a group of teachers and Mrs. Wright from Wright Elementary. And this is going to be supporting our foundation in numeracy, which as we've reviewed data, we have discovered that we are a little low on numeracy skills. So we will be participating with Region 16 in this numeracy training. They're also receiving manipulatives to help teach using the numeracy skills that they're learning at this training. Ms. Erickson has also delved into some of the science. Her main focus is math this year, but she is working with some of the science, and she has presented some lessons to second grade classes, and they are loving the hands-on activities. For our professional learning communities, the PLC teams, each grade level is working to develop unit plans and common assessments that are specifically aligned to the TEACS resource, which is our curriculum for each grade level. She has also had the opportunity to visit different classrooms to encourage and support teachers in different ways on their teacher needs. She has started coaching cycles to facilitate and implement ideas and teaching strategies with teachers who have asked for additional resources and support in math and science. The team has worked really close with me in developing professional development that is specific to each campus, because we can't roll out professional development that's the same for everyone. Every campus has their unique needs, and we are being specific on the professional development that's being provided at each campus. A lesson plan cycle has been created as well, and we are delving into that a little bit more this week with some training that's happening on different campuses. For Ms. Kaya, she is the district dyslexia coordinator, and she has started seeing students and providing services for students. She has also attended some of the student success team meetings at Wright Elementary, where students are identified based on the beginning of the year assessments that they're participating in, and discussions are being held for students in need of additional academic support. We currently have about 51 students that are receiving dyslexia services, and more pending testing to identify their, to determine if they're eligible for the services. Angelica Rascone is our district instructional and behavior services coordinator. She has been working on recertifying staff members in the district on Handle with Care, which is a behavior management system. Most of this training occurred in August 2020, and now we're targeting specific staff members that may need this on an as-needed basis. She's also helped in facilitating professional development for new teachers on the T-Test, which is our Texas Teacher Evaluation and Support System. She is also supporting special education staff members with the special ed curriculum. In particular, she's been working with the paraprofessionals to help them with skills that are necessary to support our special education population. And they have been participating in some basic training modules, which are videos, and most of them have completed the advanced modules as well. She has also been helping with professional development for our staff at the Ranger Roundup Learning Center, and they have received the training and have started the implementation, and we're excited to align the curriculum that the daycare is using with Perryton ISD. She's also helping develop a PE curriculum with the Sensory Motor Lab, Ranger Roundup, in addition to some of the other campuses, like Perryton, and we are looking at putting a lab in also at Williams and Wright. She's completed behavioral observations and provided support for staff and students to become successful. She's also communicated with parents, again, for support, and has provided resources for them so that we have the plans that are being developed are being implemented at school, but then also being supported at home. Ranger Connections is a weekly newsletter that the team has come up with, and it includes information from all of the staff members on the curriculum and instruction team. And we have provided the link for you to check that out, and we've received great feedback on that. And we will be adding any school board members on that list so that you can receive that newsletter by email. And that goes out every week. Collaboration data has been collected for the campuses on procedures and routines for Section 504. We have discovered that different procedures are being implemented at each campus, so we're trying to establish the procedures that align the whole district. Not only for the Section 504, but also for our response to intervention. We're developing the district policy and procedures for that as well. For Lacey Robertson, she is our English language arts and reading instructional coach. She actually has started with the reading academies, as I've reported in the past, in the summer. And right now she is ensuring that the beginning of the year reading screenings are underway for pre-K through second grade. Teachers are finding gaps that have occurred during the COVID-19 and remote learning from the spring, and they're adjusting their instruction to accommodate by using curriculum roadmaps that both coaches, Stacy and Lacey, are creating, and they have been well received by the teachers as well. Reading Academy participated last week, and the topic was on phonological awareness, which is the foundation of success in reading. She did note high levels of engagement, participation, conversation, and active self-reflection. She has also completed classroom observations and coaching sessions to follow after the sessions of the reading academies. And then last, Miss Cammie Skaggs. She is the Gifted and Talented District Coordinator. Our G2 program is off and running, and we have 87 students, so that is just exciting. Students continue to be tested as she receives recommendations from teachers and parents. We're also researching a high school program for students identified as GT. We currently have high school students enrolling in advanced placement courses. However, some of them are not enrolled and are not receiving the continued services at the high school level if they have been identified GT. And we are planning to screen all of our second grade students this year for GT services. Moving on to the district improvement plan, we did spend a lot of time in developing a comprehensive plan for all stakeholders in Perryton ISD. There are a total of 8 goals. Each goal has an objective and strategies on how these will be accomplished, with evidence of accomplishment on the last column. We also would like to inform you that this year we did address the Title I District Improvement Plan checklist, which was new as of last year, but it was not addressed last year. It is addressed in our district improvement plan this year. And the reason that we have to address this is that our district demonstrates over 40% of students eligible to receive free and reduced meals. And I can go into detail in the district improvement plan when we get to that, or if you have any questions, I am more than happy to answer these, as well as Shannon Jackson. I believe she's in the meeting there. And one of the other things that we wanted to point out is we did have to adjust some of the board priorities, so if you will please pay close attention to these. We've had to adjust them, given that last year the students did not participate in STAR assessments. And so if you will please take a look at those and give us feedback and let us know if there's any revisions that need to be made. In the last board meeting, I informed you about possible partnership with Perryton ISD and Seaboard. We have had the meeting with the Seaboard, and we are looking at a possible partnership with them. We did come to an agreement to open the Learning Center earlier for the children of employees at Seaboard, as long as Seaboard pays for the salary of any additional teachers that are needed following the daycare regulations. So currently we're working on the logistics, including the number of additional daycare staff needed, classroom space, payroll, job postings, and an interlocal agreement. For our bilingual dual language education program, it continues to be in development, and the staff, Ms. Campbell and Sonia Para, Mr. Felix have done a great job and continue to meet frequently. They are working on developing a dual language guide that is being implemented, and they have also worked on a draft of the mission and philosophy statements. I'll give you a minute to read those. They're on page 5 and the top of page 6. They did spend a lot of time in developing these, and they did get samples from other districts, and they did not just copy in other districts. They came up with the mission statement and the philosophy statement that fit Perryton ISD. So I was very proud of them taking the time to work on these. Okay, I'll move on cultural awareness. Principals have been made aware of the need for activities to address cultural awareness. As a matter of fact, we discussed this today again. And these are some of the calendar events that we discussed. September the 15th through October the 15th is Hispanic Heritage Month. September the 16th was the Mexican Independence Day. September 25th is Native American Day. In October, Oktoberfest is celebrated, and these are German celebrations. Black History Month in February. And we also had a little bit of discussion about having a community multicultural family night. I did have the opportunity to attend Leadership Perryton, and I just want to thank you for your support in allowing me to participate in that. I did start this journey on Saturday, and it's definitely going to help me continue to grow my leadership skills. Our guest speaker was Matt Rush. He was fabulous and reminded us that we must give people a clear vision of the direction we're headed. And last, I just want to thank all of our teachers and staff, administrators, and all district personnel for their commitment to ensure our students are learning even with our new COVID-19 settings.
Is that it, Dr. Ross?
That's it.
Okay, I'm gonna have them go over the board priorities at the end of the school improvement document, just so they can see the percentages that we're wanting to improve.
Perfect.
Other than that, we should be good.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you, Dr. Rock.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
James, did she give you an indication of what Seaboard's response might be if we incorporated the kids at Seaboard?
Yeah, I was in that meeting. I went with her and we sat over there. Seaboard seemed very excited about the possibility of doing that because I think it will fill up our daycare, and that's what we want to do if that happens. The only thing I'm skeptical of is if there's a rule on how many hours a daycare can be open. And if there is, that could catch
was a
it.
big concern when the hospital wanted to extend hours. They're our original partner. That's the reason we were told that we could not extend hours, is you have to have a completely different kind of license to be open more than 12 hours a day, I believe.
Well, I think we need to check on that. Because
absolutely.
If there's a waiver, there, because we're looking at financial viability of this thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to do everything we can because not only would it help Seaboard, it would help our partnership with the
The
hospital.
hospital, it would help the hospital also.
That's just the reason we were given in the past.
Is it possibly for next school year or after the first of the year or what kind of?
I think we're talking faster than that. If they'll come along, get on board.
January or?
Yeah, maybe January.
Be nice.
Yeah, we need to fill it up.
Yeah, we're at 50% right now. If you looked at our report, on that. If you look at those priorities, y'all look at the back of that plan there, just so you know what she's got planned for us on percentages of what's getting better by. A lot of
Jackson here to go over some of
she
that.
was, but I don't know if she's still out there. She stayed and then she left. So, but I will give Miss Jackson a lot of credit because her and Dr. Rock spent 2 or 3 days just sitting in rooms together, going through this plan. And I guarantee you, this is a very thorough plan. Probably one like we've never had before. It does include Title I, and if we even get close to meeting our plan, guys, we're going to improve of what we've read.
Yeah.
But she works hard at it. I'm just going to tell you that. She works really hard at it. Anyway, most of the deals is meets and masters. How we increase our numbers for meets and masters, because that was our issues before. And then the other one is college and career ready, military readiness, increasing those numbers also, because then that will help the scores and help the high school also. Okay. But those are priorities. If you have any questions about any of those, I can answer them.
Anybody have any questions? Okay. So the curriculum and instruction report is done. This board will now adjourn into executive session pursuant to the following sections of the Texas Open Meeting Act, 551.074, discussing personnel or to hear complaints against personnel.
We are now.
Okay, I call this meeting back to order. Okay. First, on discussion or action items.
We need a consent agenda first.
Oh, gosh. Sorry. Okay, on to consent agenda items. Minutes of the prior meeting is the only thing we have on there.
Motion.
Second.
Okay. I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the prior meeting. Any further discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Okay. Consideration and possible action on master interlocal agreement with Region 11.
Right. Basically, this is a deal for a library and being able to purchase. We got this from Region 11 saying that we need to fill this out and send it back to them so that we can have that agreement. They didn't have that agreement. So I recommend that the board vote to approve the master interlocal agreement with Region 11 as required for us to keep the benefits from their services.
Okay. This time I'd entertain a motion to approve the master interlocal agreement with Region 11.
Motion.
Okay.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Does not cost the organization any money. The agreement that signs is $9,475.
That's for the T-Rex, that's for the library.
Library system. We checked with all our librarians and stuff, and they were saying that we needed this T-Rex
We've been doing that for years.
for years.
Yeah. Okay, I'm just going the difference between it says no cost.
No cost, and then they do that. Yep. They allow us to buy that through them, kind of.
The interlocal agreement is what does cost.
Yeah.
They just never had it on file.
But they purchased that for us.
Why is it through 11 and not 16?
I mean, each region does different things. Just like we were saying, 20 was doing the thing with the grading and all that stuff. So this is what 11 does.
Okay. Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Okay. Consideration and possible action on district improvement plan.
Did we miss one?
Skipping policy.
Is it 115?
Oh, 115?
Yeah, because I'm getting ready for 115.
Okay, I'm sorry. Consideration and possible action on policy policy update 115.
And I don't know how many of y'all got a chance to look through all that. It was in the last time stuff.
Couple of questions.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know, what the question
You
was.
know, I'm always gonna have something.
But I hope I have the answers, because there was a lot of stuff in there.
Okay, I went back and I just pulled out last month's book to pull it. We're talking about reporting child abuse and neglect. This is more just a random question.
Okay.
Has in here, the following individuals have additional legal obligation to submit a written or oral report 48 hours of learning of the facts, yada, yada. Any district employee. Do all district employees know that they are legally bound or policy bound for sure to report anything within 48 hours?
I believe that was, we talked to them about that, but we didn't do an official in-service on it. We probably need to
Or at least
make
some-
sure.
Some type of
Because
a memorandum
their belief is
know
that they
about.
can just tell the principal, and the principal has to report it.
Right.
No,
It's up to them,
it's up to them. You're right.
district employee, to be able to do it. The other thing is more just a question of someone who's been in a school system way longer than me.
Which one is it?
I'm gonna read it.
Oh.
In accordance with law, discrimination on the basis of sex includes discrimination on the basis of biological sex, gender identity, sexual orientation, gender stereotypes, or any other prohibited basis related to sex. Gender stereotypes. How in the world do I discriminate against the gender stereotype? When a stereotype, by definition, is nothing real.
Okay, so my answer for you on that one, is that the one with the court case? New court case in Texas with the one that came out that we were all worried that Perryton was going to be involved in?
It
with a kid with the long hair?
Believe so.
You don't believe so? Okay, because
It's just when I got to that section, you got to highlight because
yeah,
it's more of a what in the world kind of question. What do you hear that
well, the only thing
rolls
I
into
can throw
that?
back into it is the gender restroom type deals that I can think of. We do it, you know, which restroom do they go to, depending on what gender they associate with. I guess that's the best way to put that.
All right.
Sounds good.
Question answered, kind of.
Yeah, but they I mean, the hair deal, I don't know how many of y'all heard about that, but it was a kid that had long hair, and they're saying, why are you making boys cut their hair? You don't make girls cut their hair. And then it got into a racial deal with a black student with dreadlocks that were real long. And luckily, we weren't involved in that. They got all the other schools in the Texas Panhandle. For some reason, they missed Perryton. So, yeah, until now. Now somebody's heard it, so it's going to come.
We're on Facebook.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
But we weren't in that, but it was part of that lawsuit.
Any further discussion? Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve policy update.
Motion.
I thought I asked for a motion and a second. It said any further discussion.
He had discussion.
I had discussion before we got to it.
Okay. All
Motion,
right.
second.
All right. At this time, I'd entertain a motion to approve policy update 115.
I don't know who will do it.
I see multiple hands. All right. Any further discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Okay, consideration and possible action on district improvement plan.
I recommend that the board approve the district improvement plan as presented by Dr. Ross.
This is her work that she was talking about.
Yeah, this is all of her work that she was talking about during her time.
Any discussion before taking a motion on this?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Go ahead. on 160, it says ensure all teachers attain ESL certification.
Yeah.
Is that something new? Is that difficult? Is there a cost to the district to attain a certification for all teachers?
Yeah, here is what the law, I believe the law states, is that, I want to say through sixth grade that they have to have ESL endorsement if you have a certain percentage of ESL students. It does cost. The teachers have to take that ESL test, and I can't remember what the talent's at, $150. If they pass the test, the district pays for it. If they don't pass it, we don't pay for it. But they do have to get certified. We're also pushing for high school English teachers to take the ESL endorsement, which is probably going to be a harder thing. The district has tried this before, because I was in the district the last time we tried that. Dr. Rock is going to go to every campus and explain the importance of what they learned in that class for them to have the ESL endorsement. Because a lot of teachers look at it as, you just give me another certificate, and I'm getting paid the state to do that. But she had the reasoning for with the listening, the learning of our ELL students on how it helps if you use that learning right to improve their scores, and which we all know one of our major issues is our ELL kids are not performing like they need to for us to score like we need to. So that will be a push. Is we need to get that, but we need to convince them on how it's going to help us. Not just let's don't just get a piece of paper and a check mark and say, okay, now I got that. How is it going to help us?
In the recruit high quality staff part, it says PISD will focus on hiring a more diverse teaching staff to better reflect the student population.
We've been
dangerously close to a quota system.
Yeah, and I'm going to tell you this already. I've been in the business a long time, and guys, they want your teachers to reflect the school population or the community population. There's no way that can happen. I'm just going to tell you that because
why do we have it in here?
Because
it has to be for the.
I think it's
for the report we send in.
It's a wish. It's a wish list. This is in a perfect world. That's what we would have. We're not in a perfect world because it is hard to find minority teachers.
In a perfect world, we would not have the teachers in place by virtue of their talent, not by virtue of their ethnicity.
We would, but that's not a Title I. Remember, she told you she put a lot of Title I stuff in there?
You said perfect world.
Yeah, perfect world. Title I's perfect world, too.
I'm not sure I agree with that.
Yeah, Title I is saying everybody is going to be treated fairly and equally, and you know what I'm saying? So that's how it gets into the perfect deal would be is if our teachers had the same racial makeup of our students. But it's not going to happen because those teachers aren't out there. I can tell you already they're not out there. So I think that's just, like I say, pie in the sky wish list of what we should shoot for. But I am going to tell you this. I am going to hire the best qualified teacher, no matter what race, color, creed, whatever. But that is in there. I'm glad you found that because it is in there. It is in there.
You know I'm going to read every word.
You did. You caught it. You caught it. But that is part of the Title I deal, I know. And we are putting together, by the way, just to let you know that we are putting together a task force for recruiting, retention of teachers and staff and what we can do to keep our teachers here and how we get better teachers here. And we're also putting together a task force, which I told Doug on, is on stipends, so that we can look at stipends.
As they're looking at things like that, last thing I promise, I don't have any more folded pages. One of the areas of concern was infrastructure on various campuses necessary to achieve teaching requirements. If we had, as we're looking at building needs and whatnot, specifically that I think would be good for the board to see. Of what infrastructure issues do we have that are affecting either negatively or positively attaining teacher requirements? So if that was something that we could add to our list that those committees are putting together.
Okay, you can do that, Dr. Rock. I mean,
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I was going to say, and on your retaining the teachers too, it'd be good time to look at recruitment policies too, because I mean, at one point there, we were having trouble recruiting certain teachers for certain disciplines for the district. We actually went to a hiring bonus system.
Yeah, we do, with math and science.
Yeah, we did that. We put that in place when I was on board the first time. And so I think we need to look at that because I think you're right. We need to get good young teachers and however the makeup is, you want to get them in the district and hang on to them. Two parts of the
Two
equation.
things, yeah. And basically what I told my principals this morning were, because of budget issues and where money is, we've got to make our Perryton so attractive because of how we treat our employees, technology we provide for them, make it attractive that way other than saying we can pay you so much to keep up with Amarillo. Like Amarillo teachers, it's probably 10,000 more than what they get paid Perryton. So we've got to make the job attractive other than money. How do we make the job attractive other than money?
Well, a business would, if you were looking for a certain type of person, would actually hire retaining bonuses or higher hiring bonuses. Then you'd work in some kind of work it off. You're 3 years in, you get to retain all the bonus. Like there's other ways to do it. That's what I'm saying.
Well, I think
we're always going to have hiring problems in Perryton just because we're remote and there is no Walmart.
Those are two big ones. I agree with you, but
maybe that's a bonus.
We got to find other ways to recruit people to Perryton, besides money. Because I think money is not always the answer. But one superintendent did tell me this one time and made a lot of sense to me. You ought to be recruiting the teachers that work for you all the time, which made a lot of sense. Treat your people good, and they'll stay. That's what he was trying to tell me. I think.
In a perfect world, you should be hiring qualified teachers that have kids to bring to town.
Yeah, right. Well, like our basketball coach, he was a good hire. I hope he can coach basketball, but he had 5 kids.
All right, any further discussion on the district improvement plan?
That's a huge list.
All right. At this time, I would entertain a motion to approve the district improvement plan.
Motion.
I have a motion and a second to approve the district improvement plan. Any further discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 5-2.
We're just gonna go back. I'm just saying there's a whole lot of information
Lloyd
in
and
here that
Mr.
I'd like
BA.
to be explained to me more.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
Okay, consideration and possible action on softball field renovation quote with Hohe Design Group and Huseman Builders.
All right. Here's what we had, guys. I really thought I was going to get a quote from Huseman Builders, who y'all are very familiar with. Him and I have been talking back and forth. Finally, I got a hold of him yesterday, I think it was. We finally made contact. He didn't have a quote for me. I did tell him that I thought the board would probably be more likely to pass something if it was around 150, 140,000 to just do the things that we got from the last plan, which was lift up the press box, build up the cement, do the retaining walls, the net, move visiting stands over, and 2 dugouts. Well, he told me the other day that James is still coming out at 230, 240. I said, well, I don't think they're going to go there. Let's come up with another plan.
And that's not even touching the playing surface.
That's not even touching the playing surface.
That's what we completely wanted to do at the beginning of this whole thing is the playing surface itself.
And the last thing we heard was taking care of the drainage issues was the biggest issue on the playing surface, and the rest could be taken care of.
Because if you didn't take care of the drainage issues, you're going to keep flooding your field.
Let me ask you this, Mr. Morales. Have we ever got a set of plans in our possession from the architect?
Yeah, we've gotten a set of plans.
In our possession.
The Taj Mahal the first time.
Remember, it was the Taj Mahal the first time.
No, but we sent them back to him because he drew up plans for way more than we asked for. They came back with something like $400,000.
Right.
And he was supposed to draw up plans for what we actually asked for. Have
Okay.
we ever got those plans?
Yes, we did get those plans.
Okay.
But I was trying to get bids on those, and I never could. And then they said, why don't we just let Huseman look at it
and see if he can come up with that dollar value before y'all ever even get to that bid process.
You said you were trying to get bids. Did we post for bids? Or
No, we didn't post
Your
for it.
brother, look at the plans.
No.
Now, you know, we never have posted for bids. We've been dealing with this for a year now. We approved $18,000 in architecture work
And that was the
for,
Yeah,
with the intentions of going forward with this plan that was supposed to be $130,000, $140,000 estimated in the beginning. We get back a $450,000 plan that doesn't even kind of draw up what we asked for. And then after several months of waiting to get back more plans, all we can get is a bid from the same contractor who was connected to the first set. I'm tired of dealing with it.
Yep.
I want this posted, put out for bid, and if the board approves it, the board approves it. But I feel like that they're just wanting to say, well, how much money will you spend? It's not about how much money we'll spend. We want a playable surface on the softball field. And we have literally been talking about this for a year. And sorry if I'm a little passionate, but that's frustrating. That is very frustrating to me.
Well, I mean, we can do that and see what numbers we come up with, but they're, right now, guys, the lowest they're coming up with is 200,000.
We haven't talked to anybody else.
No, we haven't. We just dealt
haven't
with that
talked
one.
to anybody else.
We just dealt with Huseman and,
You know, and when our architect came back with Huseman, came to present it to us with a contractor and told us the $450,000. That's what we asked for, was a set of plans from the architect so we could put it up for bid. Now, I've got no problem with Huseman bidding on it, so long as everyone else has the opportunity to bid on it too. So.
I thought at one point we had talked about dividing the project up a little bit to just fixing the drainage issue, which was going to be much less dollar and a lot fewer dollars and work it in the budget, and then worry about the surface on the field, because we needed to fix the drainage thing first. And I thought you had a pretty good idea on how to fix it.
I did too.
Yeah.
A French drain, I believe, wasn't it? A French drain
is.
Well, I think that makes it simple, and then we can do that, and it sounded like for a real reasonable piece of it, and then we cut that part of it, because you remember that $450,000 plan, they were building a Taj Mahal of cement out there.
Concrete that we didn't even kind of do.
Exactly.
And
then we can go back and focus on the field and playing field as we can in our budget. But the drainage shouldn't be that big a deal, I don't think. And we don't need, I'm not sure why we need an architect.
The engineering plan never even addressed the drainage or the root cause of the problem. All they did was try to build something.
The reason the softball field's not playable at times is because the water drains onto it. You know, and our softball coach said if we could fix the drainage issues, they could gradually build up the playing surface. So, you know, and we've been, I just can't believe what we went through with the architect and, you know, and we spent $18,000 for these plans.
Yes, exactly.
$18,000 to not, to really even get a real bid on what we asked for. So, you know, we have invested to improve the playing surfaces in every sport, and every sport has a playable surface except for our girls softball team. And that's why we wanted to do it, or that's why I wanted to.
But the drainage thing has to come first.
No, and that's what I'm saying. The drain is
everything else
is what leads to it, and you know, and I really don't want to waste the $18,000.
I don't either. That's what I'm
We've
thinking
already
now.
spent.
We got that.
If it's a $250,000 bid, we may have to, but I just don't think we've ever. I think we keep putting the cart before the horse.
So you're saying,
we keep talking, you know, well, how much can you spend? Well, you know, so.
think there's only 300,000 in there for capital improvements for this year anyway.
Yeah.
Right, that's, and I didn't wanna take half of that.
You have to really.
We're gonna have to fit this, we're gonna have to fit this in the capital budget,
Right.
right? We're gonna have to fit this in the
I
capital
agree
budget.
that this needs to fit in the capital budget, 100%. But I think we need to be presenting the work we want done and asking for a bid, not saying what we'll pay and ask if they'll do it.
I bet I can find everything you spent the last dollar on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, you know, the last plans, I can bring those by and let you look at them, because it just had the cement work. But even after Houston looked at them, he told me that the demolition and all that stuff is what the cost is. Demolition of the cement that you have there.
No,
I mean, that's what he told me on the phone.
No.
I know what I spend to tear down elevators
Mm.
and demolition of concrete.
It's
With
not that
less
expensive.
square footage than out there, and I'll spend $30,000-$40,000 tearing
There
it
you
down
go.
and haul it away.
There you go. And that's if you have to clear it all. And I don't think we need to do that. We just need to prove what's.
Well, they know schools, you know that.
What they're
If
saying.
they know it's
is
schools,
this
then they,
Yeah,
Is this pretty much what you're talking about in the bid, is this picture here?
yeah, let me show you what was in the last one. This is the first one that he gave us. Okay, so now, in the one he gave us back the second time, it just had this retaining wall. It had moving, the dugout, having both dugouts redone, moving these, another set of stands, that I believe are over here, over there. Pick up the press box, redo the cement here so that the water drains back this away from the field. And I believe that was it.
I can dry your French drain in there.
There's a big ditch back behind that.
Yeah, there's a big ditch that runs back here.
It's these
Ditch over
bleachers that
here,
were
and one
supposed to be
here.
coming over here. Because that was one of the things that we're worried about on the $450,000 plan.
I bet you could,
Was
I bet
shrinking
you
the
could redneck
practice.
the whole thing.
And everything we were hearing was, hey, let us worry about our practice field.
Right.
And, so.
And even that plan, you see what it says in yellow on the field?
Yeah, work to be done in
And see, all this concrete here, none of this is concrete right now. So it doesn't need to be.
And they didn't put that in there.
Yeah.
They're doing that, but they're still coming up with $240,000.
She's gonna work on the language and all that stuff. I was making
You
jokes
know,
about
we
when I
brought
ran
up,
that office.
you know, one plan of
Elemental peanut chicken.
leaving these setting where they are, and if money became an issue, but I can't imagine that leaving these bleachers should be that.
It's not those that are moving, it's the ones to the north that are moving.
Right, the ones over here somewhere.
The visitors. The one you were pointing at is the homestands.
Right, so they'll move these.
Got to delete it all. I tried to read the last.
Oh, yeah, these were here, right,
But
that's
you're right,
where
there
they
was a
will
ton
be
in
sitting,
there.
right.
I didn't understand it.
So.
So
But anyway.
his last deal that he told me, and I don't think this is a good idea, but was to put sand over the concrete that we have now and rebuild another deal where it sloped from that and not have the demolition of the concrete.
I would wonder if that's even necessary.
I don't know. That was his last plan though that he told us.
Why don't you get a piece of paper? Draw your drain in and come back next meeting.
It's my homework assignment. I suppose if we put enough sand on the field, the water wouldn't sink so deep. We could just play on the sand.
There's better alternatives, guys, and I'm with Monty on this one. This was way overdone, and if you're not getting something we can use on the thing, then put it out for bid, see what we can do. But I would consider breaking it up and seeing which pieces we can do, because we know the drainage is the first thing.
Yeah. Well, this is the first piece. We got to get that fixed back there.
And you just got to believe in a local economy like we've got. You can find some local guys willing to do some work.
Lloyd Cater's going off the board. He ought to have time.
Kind of the guy I've been kind of leaning on this is Jim Powell, because he's an old cement guy, works with a lot of cement people. And
has a vested interest in the
has a
softball
vested interest in
program.
the program. I'm going, okay, tell me what we're kind of looking at and needing to do.
Might be worth a visit with David Pearson as well.
Yeah, and I think David was the guy he was thinking about.
if it were me, I would take the plans we finally got from the architect and use Jim as maybe kind of technical support on advice and just put it up for bid.
Well, he's no concrete man, he probably
Yeah.
can do it.
So, put it up for bid and see what kind of bids we get in.
Okay.
Concrete's the answer. Concrete's not the answer.
Yeah.
Yep, that's good.
Yeah, but the job's gonna involve some concrete. Yeah. All right.
What's the next one?
Last table.
Consideration and
Table, yeah.
possible action on probationary contract for teachers.
Yes, this is recommending of the administration below the personnel to receive a 1-year probationary contract, Dinah Wooster, for the high school as an English teacher.
So moved. Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve Dan Wister for a probationary contract for teacher. Any further discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 7-0. All right, consideration and possible action on continuing cell phone allowance for administrators.
On our contracts, we used a TASB contract this last year, and we did put the cell phone monthly allowance for administrators on there of $60 for business use. Basically, we just want to make sure any of our new administrators that came on do receive that cell phone allowance. And so my recommendation is the board approve continue to pay for administrators' cell phone allowance, even though it is not listed on their current contracts. If given a renewal on the contract for the upcoming year, it will reflect the cell phone allowance. We missed it.
Just omitted on our part. Okay?
Previously, the ones that got those were principals and district administrators. It didn't extend down below that.
Okay.
So if you want to continue that, then we need direction on, you know, assistant soup or soup if it's eligible. And my understanding was Mr. Morales has rolled over into his salary when he was negotiating.
Okay.
So this will be just for the principals?
Principals and district administrators.
District administrator. New high school principal.
Okay.
That's the way it used, that's the way it's always been. That's what we had budgeted, at least.
All right, any further discussion? At this time, I would consider a motion for continuing cell phone allowance for administrators.
Motion. Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 7-0.
That was good. What's your short?
Meeting adjourned.
That was a long meeting.